Good evening. Thanks for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines we're tracking for you tonight. Markets take a cue from Wall Street, end 1% higher for the week. Financials lead the market with the Nifty Bank outperforming with a gain of 2%. The rupee weakens only a bit as the dollar takes a breather. UK Finance Minister Kwarteng is fired after less than 6 weeks on the job. His sacking follows severe domestic and international criticism for announcing unfunded tax cuts. Former Foreign Minister Jeremy Hunt is named Britain's new Finance Minister. RBI's Monetary Policy Committee leaves a window open for more rate hikes to stem inflation. Governor Shaktikanta Das says the Indian economy presents a picture of resilience, even as future inflation trajectory remains clouded with uncertainties. Ashima Goel points to headroom for further rate action but argues that global central banks may be overreacting. Jayant Verma bats for a pause after the latest hikes as upside risks to inflation have abated since the August meeting. The government is likely to tax levies on windfall gains for domestically produced crude and diesel exports. Sources say the fortnightly movement in global crude oil prices set the stage for a marginal hike. The Revenue Department is yet to take a call on the final matter. Bajaj Auto delivers in Q2. Revenue and margins meet street estimates. Standalone net profit jumps 20%. The management says that continued improvement in chip supplies has enabled a healthy build-back of inventory ahead of the festive season. The Road Transport Ministry imposes a penalty on electric vehicle manufacturers after its probe on recent fire incidents. Ola, Okinawa, Boom and Pure EV look at a penalty following a report from a high-level committee highlighting lapses in adherence to safety norms and standards. The Supreme Court will hear a slew of petitions challenging the electoral bond scheme. On the 6th of December, the government has defended the electoral bonds as transparent mode of political funding, while petitioners claim it is opaque. The Supreme Court has rejected WhatsApp and Meta's plea seeking a stay on CCI ordering a probe into the 2021 privacy policy. The regulator had ordered a probe into the tech giant's privacy policy for alleged abuse of market dominance. The apex court rules that CCI has the necessary jurisdiction. The Election Commission announces polling dates for Himachal Pradesh. The state will go to polls on the 12th of November in a single phase. Results will be announced on the 8th of December. The EC did not announce dates for the Gujarat Assembly elections, which are also slated to be held this year, though the counting date and the result date for both states remains the same. Jaipur's traditional gems and jewellery sector struggles to get back on its feet after years of hits. A special report on whether the festive season will return the lustre to the sector. Well, first up, all the market action of the day. Indian markets taking a cue from Wall Street, ending Friday's session 1% higher with financials leading the rally. However, it's been a volatile week and we've seen the Nifty and the Sensex fall 1%, but the banks outperforming to end in the green. That's the Nifty Bank for you. In the currency market, the rupee opened on a positive note, but then depreciated 8 paise to end the day at 82.35 versus the greenback. A strong dollar and risk-averse sentiment among investors has weighed on the rupee, though it has been range-bound over the last few days. The big global story, UK Finance Minister Kwarteng has been fired after less than 6 weeks on the job. Kwarteng had been severely criticised after he announced unfunded tax cuts, sending the financial markets in a turmoil. The Liz Truss government was later forced to announce that they would scrap the plan to cut tax for the nation's highest earners. Former Foreign Minister Jeremy Hunt is now Britain's new Chancellor to the Exchequer. Our colleague Sanjay Suri joins us. Sanjay, Kwarteng being shown the door.
Britain's Chancellor of the Exchequer, Kwasi Kwarteng, has been sacked, going by immediate indications, less than 6 weeks into the job and only a day after he declared with much confidence that he is not going anywhere. That mini budget that he announced on the 23rd of September set off a chain of financial disasters such as Britain has not seen in a long time. Just about everything seems to have gone wrong and fast. Kwarteng announced tax cuts to be funded by £60 billion of borrowing and unfunded borrowing. Markets lost faith in the government. The government's cost of borrowing through the bonds rose alarmingly and immediately. The Bank of England intervened to buy bonds to calm the market, but with a warning that there could be no more beyond Friday. The pound fell. The Bank of England, of course, could not go on buying bonds indefinitely, and the markets needed a signal to calm them down, and the first of these now has come with the sacking of Kwarteng. Kwarteng, of course, announced his mini budget in consultation with the Prime Minister Liz Truss, and that budget was entirely in line with promises she had made during her campaign among Conservative members, and in the face of continuing warnings from her opponent and former Chancellor Rishi Sunak that such a move would be disastrous. Kwarteng now appears to be the fall guy. Truss is due to reverse several more provisions in the mini budget, and she is due to announce more of these steps in that direction shortly.
Sanjay Suri, many thanks for joining us. Kwarteng out, Jeremy Hunt in, damage of course already done. RBI's Monetary Policy Committee has left a window open for more rate hikes to stem inflation. Governor Shaktikanta Das says the Indian economy presents a picture of resilience even as future inflation remains clouded with uncertainties. Lata joins us now with more on the minutes of the crucial MPC meeting. Lata, Jayant Verma very clear, no more rate hikes, but the rest of the MPC seems to believe that there is room for further hikes.
The key takeaway from the minutes of the Monetary Policy Committee meeting appear to be that the Reserve Bank members are much more worried about inflation and financial stability than the external members. The external members, Dr. Bide, Dr. Verma and Ashima Goyal, are quite clearly more worried about growth. Dr. Verma actually is arguing that the RBI and the MPC should go to 6% and pause, actually. Never anyone has made such a clear guidance and argument in favor of stopping at 6%. Ashima Goyal also seriously worried about growth, and Dr. Bide echoing that. So it looks like they will not push for too much of rate hikes beyond 6 quarter or thereabouts. Dr. Verma actually stopping at 6. But on the other hand, one of the big revelations of the Monetary Policy Committee minutes is that the internal member, DG Patra, Deputy Governor Michael Patra, who has sounded dovish in earlier times, is clearly worried about inflation. He says that even if you strip off energy and other external elements, the inflation expectations are coalescing around the 6% mark, which is the upper tolerance band. He's worried about that. He's also worried that this is coming at a time when output gap is closing, by which you mean excess capacity is closing. Capacity utilization is at the higher end of the long-term 10-year average, which is around 75%. And therefore, he is saying that monetary policy should move to red alert. So he's clearly signaling, or so it seems, more rate hikes. The governor is clearly worried about the way central banks global central banks of advanced economies are moving to extreme hawkishness, not only in their action, but also in their guidance. And he believes, as he said in the speech itself, that that could have destabilizing spillover effects on countries like India, on emerging markets like India. That's the gist of the takeaways from the monetary policy. The RBI members clearly seem to be signaling more rate hikes. The external members more worried about growth.
If we are going into a slowdown, we want to modulate demand so that it compensates for expected slowdown in export demand, right? So we don't want to overdo the demand tightening. And as it is currently, given our forecasted inflation rate, the real rates are positive. So that is adequate at this juncture.
It is hard to argue for raising rates much beyond this, because you're already probably at or above the neutral rate at a time where the growth outlook is very fragile. We raised rates very rapidly over the last 3 to 4 months, and the effect of that is yet to be felt. I'm arguing that the effect on even the financial sector is not complete.
MPC members Jayant Verma and Ashima Goyal there, more concerned about growth and less so on inflation, but not the case there for Michael Patra, Shaktikanta Das and other members of the MPC. On to a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. The government is likely to review tax levies on windfall gains in domestically produced crude and diesel exports. The Revenue Department will soon make that call on the back of inputs from the Petroleum Ministry. Timsy Jaipuria is here with more. Timsy, are we likely to see a hike come in this fortnightly review?
Well, that's right. What we are given to understand from sources is the fact that the government, in its fortnightly review of windfall gains tax levies, is likely to increase the levies. Now, this decision is likely to be based upon the highlights of fortnightly review of the movement of international crude oil prices shared by Petroleum Ministry, which actually hint towards an increase. The increase is expected in the levies on domestically produced crude and diesel. What we are given to understand that Petroleum Ministry in its review has highlighted that due to the OPEC's decision to cut petroleum production, the movement of crude oil prices were above $90 per barrel, and thus that is why there could be a marginal increase in these levies. However, as of now, Revenue Department is still assessing and there's no decision that has been made, but that is what the intent is likely to be. Apart from that, the government is also assessing to include domestically produced natural gas to be included under the ambit of windfall gains tax levies. There also, CNBC-TV18 had reported long back in July that such proposals are underway. There were a lot of research and analysis that was taking on within the Revenue Department, and that seems to be concluding towards a decision that this particular sector could be included in the ambit of windfall gains tax levies. Let's see how soon government takes a final call.
All right, Timsy Benny, thanks for joining us. The other headlines of the day: Bajaj Auto delivers in Q2, revenue and margins meet street estimates. Standalone net profit jumps 20%. Management has said the continued improvement in chip supplies has enabled a healthy build back of inventory ahead of the festive season. The insurance regulator has released draft regulations on investment in insurance and reinsurance companies, proposing a 5-year lock-in for promoters intending to start an insurance business. The rules also look to limit the exposure of institutional investors to 2 companies. The insurance regulator has also imposed a penalty of 2 crore rupees on Max Life Insurance for violation of rules in its deal with Axis Bank. Promoter Axis Bank, which will have to pay the penalty within 21 days, can challenge the order before the Securities Appellate Tribunal. States have swung into action on the back of the maiden pharma fiasco. State drug regulators have begun assessing commercially available cough syrups for possible contamination. The Maharashtra FDA has directed sample checks of all oral liquid solutions in the state, as are other state regulators now starting to consider that option. The Road Transport Ministry has imposed penalties on EV makers that were under the scanner after the recent incidents of batteries catching fire. Government sources say that the high-level committee probing the matter has found lapses in adherence to safety norms and standards. Parikshit Luthra is standing by with more. Parikshit, so penalties being imposed? Give us the details.
Well, yes, this has been confidential for some time because we are getting the sense that the government did not want to tarnish the industry or these companies. But after this high-level committee report was received by the government, which really found some of these companies guilty of defying standards, quality norms set under the motor vehicle rules, action has been taken against companies like Ola, Okinawa, Pure EV, Boom Motors as well. So a penalty was imposed on each of these companies, and that penalty amount has actually been deposited with the Road Transport Ministry. At the same time, there have been clear advisories issued to all these companies to make sure they follow all the guidelines, all the rules under testing standards. New testing standards have also been issued by the government, and now the latest advisory is on low-speed electric two-wheelers. The government telling different state governments that clearly there are major contraventions when it comes to the sale of low-speed two-wheelers, and that must be cracked down by them at the earliest. But the big news coming in, and the exclusive information that we have gathered, is that all the companies that had been probed for the recent EV fires have been penalized with the penalty, and that penalty amount has been collected from each of the companies.
Parikshit, many thanks for joining us. In what has come as a setback for WhatsApp and its parent company Meta, the Supreme Court has rejected their plea seeking a stay on CCI ordering a probe into their 2021 privacy policy. The regulator had ordered a probe into the tech giant's policy for alleged abuse of market dominance. CCI said that WhatsApp was sharing user data with Meta for targeted advertisements. The Apex Court has ruled that CCI has the necessary jurisdiction to conduct the probe. The Supreme Court will consider the petitions challenging electoral bonds on the 6th of December. The government has argued that electoral bonds are transparent. Petitioners, however, have told the court that opacity of electoral bonds cannot be allowed in a democracy. Ashmit Kumar gets us more. Ashmit, this has been long pending. Finally, the Supreme Court taking up the matter. Take us through the arguments.
Well, this is one issue which the court itself, in fact, observed today that has been lying and pending before the apex court for nearly 7 years now. We're talking about the issue of electoral bonds. This was brought up once again before the top court, and the petitioners, the whole slew of petitioners raised various questions. They called this an opaque system of political funding. They said that the systems, the way they have been structured, allow even foreign funds to be routed back to political parties, that there's no transparency, that this, interestingly, they pointed out, is activated. These electoral bonds are issued just prior to state elections, and that one is coming up in the state of Gujarat, and that is something that was red flagged by the petitioners. The government, however, represented by the Solicitor General as well as the new Attorney General, pointed out that this is the most transparent system, that there is no scope for black money or unaccounted cash to be routed through these electoral bonds to political parties, and that it was completely secure. The apex court has not said anything about the merits of the case or, in fact, about the electoral bonds itself. However, has agreed to hear the case on December 6th, and that's when it will begin hearing all the arguments by the petitioners as well as by the government to understand what the way forward on electoral bonds could look like.
Ashmit, many thanks for joining us. Jaipur's traditional gems and jewellery sector struggles to get back on its feet after years of hits. A special report on whether the festive season can return the lustre to the sector when we return.